Okay, let's begin by offering our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay, so what did we see in the previous class? No one? What's the title of chapter 8?
Attaining the Supreme.
Attaining the Supreme. Okay. So this chapter begins with Arjuna asking 7 questions. And he's inquiring about the terms that Krishna used at the end of chapter 7. So along with those meanings of those terms, Arjuna asked one 7th and very crucial question, which is, how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? So this is the answer to this question forms the basis of the rest of the chapter. Now in verses 3 and 4, Krishna very quickly answers Arjuna's 6 questions. he explains those technical terms which Arjuna inquired about. And then from 5 onwards, Krishna begins to answer Arjuna's crucial question, how can one remember Krishna at the time of death? So that time Krishna says that if you give up your body, remembering me alone, then you can attain my nature, which means if we think about the Lord, when we think of Krishna at the time of death, then we can attain Krishna. If we don't think of Krishna and we are thinking about something else, then when whatever we are thinking about, that state one will attain. Now, one may think that, okay, I will think of some Bollywood star, or I would think of Bollywood, or I will think of the richest man on earth, and I will become rich in the next lifetime. I will become this great Bollywood star in the next lifetime. But then one should understand that even to become rich and famous, one needs to have that kind of punya karmas to back you. Not one just cannot become rich without having the punya karmas. So one may end up becoming the servant of the rich man, or becoming a cleaner on a Bollywood set if you're lacking the punya karmas, the credits for that. So it's a very risky proposition. One should not think like that. One should only focus on thinking about the Lord at the time of death and attain the spiritual world from where one does not have to come back again. That is intelligence. Okay. Then Krishna goes on to, so as I said, this chapter is talking about Krishna's answer to Arjuna's 7th question. So if you see from verses 5 to 8, Krishna is talking about remembering Krishna at death. Then from 9 to 13, which we saw in the previous class also, we discussed how Krishna is talking about remembrance by Yoga Mishra Bhakti. 9 to 13. Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Krishna is talking about how those who are engaged in the Sat Chakra Yoga or Dhyana Yoga, how do they attain the Lord? So they fix their life hair between the eyebrows and all those things that we have discussed previously. Now, in today's class, which we have to begin from verse number 14, Krishna is going to talk about remembrance by Shuddha Bhakti, remembrance by pure devotional service. That is verses 14 to 15. Then from 16 to 22, Krishna will be talking about remembrance by comparing the nature of the material and the spiritual world. So in these verses, Krishna is going to contrast the spiritual world and the material world so that we see how the spiritual world is a far better proposition than the material world. So remembrance by comparing the natures of the spiritual and the material worlds in 16 to 22. And finally, Krishna will end the chapter in the last section in verses 23 to 28, where he talks about remembrance by Bhakti Yoga is easier than by Ashtanga Yoga. So he is contrasting Bhakti Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga in the last section. And throughout the Bhagavad Gita, we have discussed how Krishna establishes the supremacy of Bhakti Yoga over all other yoga systems. In the first in the first section, we have seen there are two comparisons. First, Krishna spoke about remembering a result of remembering Krishna versus remembering anything or anyone else at the time of death. No, Krishna spoke about how one who remembers Krishna at the time of death will attain him, will attain his nature, will attain the spiritual world. Versus somebody else, comparing versus anybody else who thinks of somebody else. So this is one comparison that we saw. Another comparison that we have seen is what do the Bhakti yogis practice versus what the Ashtanga yogis practice. So here we have seen how the Ashtanga yogi or the Dhyana yogi is practicing the yoga system, versus now we will see what does a pure what does a devotee who is practicing pure devotional service, how does he practice the Bhakti Yoga system? So this is the second comparison in this chapter. Total, there are 4 comparisons in this chapter. The other last 2 comparisons we will see as we proceed. Okay. We need a volunteer to read, please.
Can I
Who
read?
can? Yes, Devina. Thank you. Okay, so this section 14, 15, and 16 is titled Pure Devotional Service. So as we discussed previously, Krishna spoke about how the Ashtanga yogis, they practice the yoga system, the Ashtanga yoga system. And now Krishna is going to talk about pure devotional service. So let's hear the shloka first.
मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयमशाश्वतम् नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः.
Devina, are you there?
Yeah, I don't see the translation with the verse. I see only the text part, the Veda based.
Oh, 1 second. I'm sorry. Now?
Now, yes. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service.
So Krishna is saying that he is very easy to obtain by what categories of people? In order to attain Krishna very easily, see, Krishna uses the word sulabha. Sulabha means very, very easy. It's easy for one who always remembers Krishna without deviation. Satatam. Satatam means constantly, always remembering Krishna, and ananya cheta, without deviation of the mind. Ananya means nothing else is on the mind of the devotee. So ananya cheta satatam. If one remembers Krishna without deviation, and he's constantly remembering Krishna, constantly engaged in devotional service. See, when we engage in devotional service, when we are engaged in seva, by default, we are constantly thinking of Krishna. So like this, for such a person, Krishna says that he is very, very easy to obtain. Otherwise, it's not so easy to cross so many. Let me see if I have it here. See here, we have discussed how the material world is made up of millions of universes, and our universe has 14 planetary systems, right? And we are in the middle planetary system. That middle planetary system also is composed of so many islands and oceans, and we are in the center of that, like Jambudvip, if you have heard of that term, Jambudvip. If you read the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will see creation, and all these details are there. So in that Jambudvip, there are different tracts of land. One of those tracts of land is Bharatavarsha. So imagine we have to cross all that. The middle planetary system also is composed of so many layers, and then the higher planetary systems, and then you have this Karana ocean, and then you have the Brahma Jyoti, and then you have the Vaikuntha planets and the Goloka. So how are we going to cross all this? So it appears to be very difficult, but Krishna says that it is very easy for one who remembers me without deviation, and he is constantly engaged in devotional service. Okay. So somebody was to ask you, how do you know that here Krishna is talking about pure devotional service? Which word from the Sanskrit would you choose to prove that here Krishna is talking about pure devotional service? There is nothing mixed in pure devotion. What Sanskrit word will you say from this verse? That it's
Ananya
pure.
Cheta.
Yes, Ananya Chetaha. Very nice. Ananya Chetaha. So on your chit, on your mind, there is nothing else. Ananya, nothing else is there. So when nothing else is there on your mind but the Lord, then it means it is pure devotional service. Devotional service is not mixed with desire for any other thing, not even desire for liberation, desire for mystic powers, desire to get some material benefits. No, that pure devotion is not mixed with any other desire. So Ananya Cheta indicates no other desire. That refers to pure bhakti yoga. Now, what is a karmi desire? A karmi or a karma kandi, he desires sense gratification. Because he's engaging in devotional service in order to get something from the Lord. So that's what a karmi desires. A jnani, he desires relief from material misery. So a jnani is someone who's frustrated with the material world and he wants release from that. He wants relief from that misery of the material world. So he's also desiring something, and he enjoys knowledge. The yogi, most of the yogis, they desire mystic abilities, to have the ability to perform mystic yogas. So they develop mystic powers. When engages in Ashtanga yoga, as a side benefit, one gets mystic powers. So therefore, you will see some yogis who can transport themselves from one place to another place, or who can walk on water like that. But we understand that it is not such a great thing. One, in the Kali Yuga, the innocent people are cheated. They see such people performing such mystic activities and they think that they are God, because people are not informed. But Srila Prabhupada would explain how this is. See, there is the story of a man who was able to walk on the water. So he's telling somebody else that, look, I can cross the river by walking on the water. So the other person says that, what's the big deal? It's only a 2 pence ability. Why 2 pence ability? Because he'll pay the boatman 2 pence and he can also cross the river by the boat. So what is so great about it? Greatness is when one engages in bhakti yoga, because that is what attracts the Lord, and that's what can take us back home, back to Godhead on a fast track. Everybody else has to come to the level of bhakti before they can attain perfection. A karmi, a jnani, a yogi, they have to come to the level of bhakti yoga. Only then they can attain what a bhakti yogi can attain at the end of one lifetime itself. So a pure devotee, his desire is only the pleasure of the Lord. So for that, he is ready to even go to hell. For example, if the Lord tells the pure devotee, I want you to go to the hellish planets and preach. So he says, okay, I have no problem. I can go to hell and I can preach, because their desire is that I want to please the Lord. So they are not worried whether they are in heaven or hell, in the material world or in the spiritual world. So this we have already discussed, how going from here to here is made easy only when we engage in bhakti yoga. So bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. How to start off the process? Just by chanting. We have discussed how Shravanam and Kirtanam are the most important items of devotional service. So when we chant the holy name, we are engaging our hearing and our tongue in the service of the Lord. So chanting and hearing, Shravanam and Kirtanam. See, if one has, what is the process to cross a small swimming pool, 10 by 20 feet in dimension?
By swimming.
By swimming. So how do you swim? You have a certain technique. So you raise your hand, one arm out of the water, you propel yourself forward, you push the water, and then the other arm. So there is a technique to swim across this thing. And the same technique is used even to cross the English Channel. Huge ocean is there, same technique you use. So even though it appears that the spiritual world is so far away, we can begin just by chanting the holy name. And gradually, because here Krishna says that it should be satatam, it should be constant engagement. Not that today I chant, tomorrow I don't chant, then day after tomorrow I chant 25 rounds, then after that I chant 2 rounds, and then I chant 100 rounds. No, satatam, constant engagement. That is the key, constant. See this very nice verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. For those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the Mura demon, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. Their goal is Parampadam, Vaikuntha, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. So for one who has surrendered to the Lord, for him that huge ocean, the water, the immense water that is there in that ocean is reduced to the amount of water that can be held in the hoof print of a calf. Now, imagine the calf is so small, and then the hoof print of that calf is so much more smaller. And how much water can it hold? And who cannot cross that water that is there in the hoof print of a calf? Even a small child can cross it, isn't it? So that vast ocean can be reduced to the water that is held in the hoof print of the calf if one simply surrenders to the Lord. Who is Murari? Whose name is Murari?
Krishna.
Krishna. Yes, Krishna's one name is Murari. It means the enemy of the Mura demon. So see, one is in this vast ocean, and it appears that I'm in this ocean, and how am I going to cross this vast ocean? The waves are so violent, so rough. But then the Lord is the swift deliverer of a person if he simply surrenders to the Lord. Now, for this person, is he going to struggle to cross that vast ocean? Is he going to struggle? No, because he has his arms stretched out, and all that he has to do is cover this distance. That's all. This is what Krishna is saying. A pure devotee and the Lord never forget each other, even for a moment. Thus, an unalloyed devotee can easily obtain the final destination. This is the final destination. This shows a picture of a devotee after he's attained the spiritual world and how he's personally greeted. Personally, Krishna welcomes him back, and he hugs him, and he asks him that it took you so long, my dear friend, to get back here. There is a story of Gopakumar, a person who it is described how he goes back home, back to Godhead, and so he crosses through these planetary systems and so many others, so many other places he crosses, and finally when he reaches Goloka, then it is described how Krishna personally embraces him and then inquires from him, what took you so long? I've been waiting for you, like that. And you can see the other residents of Goloka, they are also so happy to receive him back in the spiritual world. So Krishna is closer than what we think. It may appear that the material world is so far away from the spiritual world because there are millions and millions of universes. Now we are in one of the millions of universes which are all in the material world. So it may appear that the Lord is so far away in Goloka. Goloka is so far away, but we should not forget that he is also present in the heart of every living entity as the super soul, as the Paramatma. So who can be closer to you than God? Who can be closer to you than Krishna? You may have a very good husband, very good wife, excellent children. You may have best friends, very nice. But how long will they last? At best, till death. But the super soul accompanies you even life after life after life after life. No matter how many bodies we change in the material world, no matter whether we are a small ant, no matter whether we are the worm in stool, no matter whether we are a pig who's eating stool, no matter we are in the body of Lord Brahma also, doesn't matter. The super soul is there in the heart of every living entity. So Krishna is closer than you think, or than what most people think. 15.
ब्रह्म भुवना लोकाः पुनरावर्तिनोऽर्जुन मामुपेत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते.
After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection.
So here Krishna is explaining what happens if one is engaged in pure bhakti, one is engaged in ananya chetaha and satatam in a constant way, then what is the result that one can obtain by that pure bhakti? So Krishna is saying that after you attain me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion, they never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries. So Krishna is saying that once you go back to the spiritual world, you will not come down again. So this is Krishna's promise in the Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes one may think that, okay, I sacrifice so many things, I take to bhakti, I take to devotion, and I go to the spiritual world. But what if I again fall down? Then what is the use? So Krishna is saying that once you attain the spiritual world, you will not come back again. How is Krishna describing the material world in this verse? See, he's saying that this material world is Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. Dukhalayam means it's a place full of miseries, and Ashashvata means it is temporary. This material world is not permanent, because we know there is creation, there is destruction. At the end of every Brahma's day, there is partial destruction, and at the end of Brahma's night, there is a complete destruction. So this material world is temporary. Anything that we have in this material world is also temporary. Our relationships, our family, our wealth, properties, whatever, our education, fame, everything is here is temporary. But in the spiritual world, everything is permanent. The happiness there is permanent. So see this word alayam. If you see the word alayam means it means that it's a place, no? Alayam means place. For example, let's say, what's a library called in Hindi? Library in Hindi is?
Granthalay.
Granthalay. What is a hospital in Hindi?
Aspatal.
Huh?
Aspatal.
Aspatal. Okay, other word where you have the word alaya.
Chikitsalaya.
Chikitsalaya, yes. What's a school called? Vidyalaya.
Vidyalaya.
What's an office called? Karyalay. What is ministry? Ministry in Hindi? Mantralay. So alay, see, in all these words there is alay. Alayam means place. So this material world, Krishna says, is dukhalay. Dukhalay. It's a place where there is only dukha, only a place full of miseries. So that is the nature of this material world. Us accepting this material body was a poor deal. It was a very bad deal that we have accepted. But now Krishna is saying that you can go back just by engaging in pure devotional service in a constant way. And once you attain the spiritual world, then you don't have to come back again. See, dukhalayam ashashvatam. So what are the dukhas? The principal miseries here are birth, death, disease, and old age. Taking birth is very, very painful. The child in the womb suffers for 9 months, is a cramped up place, in a dark place. It is in its own stool and urine. And when the mother eats something very pungent, very spicy, then the child feels this burning sensation all over its body. So birth is very, very painful for the child. Of course, old age, disease, also very, very painful. Nobody likes to grow old. Nobody likes to get a disease. And even death is very, very painful. We were discussing previously how nobody wants to die. You take any living entity, whether it's a human being or even a small insect, if you try to kill, nobody is ready to face death. Even the small insect will try to escape death. And then we have these three kleshas: Adhyatmika klesha, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Daivika. Adhyatmika is the miseries from one's own mind and body. Adhyatmika is that. Then Adi Bhautika is the miseries that are caused by other living entities, maybe some insects or maybe another terrorists or antisocial elements. They are causing klesha, they are causing misery to us. Then Adi Daivika, the miseries that are caused by natural disasters, cyclone, or there may be an earthquake, all these natural disasters. So all these natural disasters, all these kleshas and birth, death, disease, and old age, this is absent in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there is no disease, there is no birth, there is no death, there is no old age. You will never see a photo of an old man in the spiritual world. And Krishna also eternally lives in the spiritual world as a 16-year-old boy. So these problems do not exist in the spiritual world. So how different people perceive the world. Now Krishna is describing the material world as Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. But this is how different people, they perceive the world. The karmis, they romanticize this material world. They say, oh, this is wonderful, this is very nice. Sometimes you will see some speakers, they will say, this is so wonderful, this is so beautiful, I would like to come back. The world is such a beautiful place, I would like to come back, they will say. So the karmis, their focus is enjoyment, so they romanticize this material world. The jnanis, they demonize this material world. Why do they demonize this material world? Is because they say that it is a cause of entanglement. They think that anything that's material will cause me to get entangled. But a bhakta, he sees this material world as an opportunity to utilize, to use everything that is material in the service of the Lord. See, previously we have mentioned this in our class, how there's that incident of how when Prabhupada was there, somebody told him about another Mayavad philosopher who got himself photographed refusing money. Like somebody is giving him money and he's refusing. So he got himself photographed like that, because that's what they do. They reject anything that is material, saying that it will entangle us. But what does a devotee do? A devotee will accept it and he will utilize it in the service of the Lord. So that way, what happens when the pure devotee is receiving any donation or any seva, then both parties are getting benefited. The person who's giving the money in donation is getting benefited because that money is being used in the service of the Lord. And of course, the devotee is getting benefited because he is using that in the service of the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada said, I have no problem if somebody was to photograph me receiving the money, because I'm going to use that money in the service of the Lord. So this is how a devotee sees the material world. He utilizes it, he engages it in the service of the Lord. So one may have one may have some talent. No, one may be a great singer, one may be a great dancer, one may be a great speaker, one may be a very good cook, one may be very expert in cleaning. So whatever talent or stitching or whatever talent one has, one can use that talent in the service of the Lord. That is intelligence. 16.
सहस्रयुगपर्यन्तम् अहर्यद्ब्रह्मणो विदुः रात्रिं युगसहस्रान्ताम् ते होरात्रविदो जनाः.
From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again.
So Krishna is saying that in this material world, from the highest planet to the lowest. So we saw there are 14 planetary systems in every universe. The highest planetary system is, what's the highest of the 14 planetary system?
Brahmaloka.
Brahmaloka, right? So right from Brahmaloka right up to the lowest planetary system, all are places of misery. Even Swargaloka, one thinks, oh, I should go to heaven, no? Enjoy heaven or Jannat or become Swargavasi. So even attaining heavenly planets, even that is a place of misery. Why? Because there also there is, Krishna is saying, repeated birth and death take place. Only in the spiritual world, there is no birth and there is no death. So Krishna is saying, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So Krishna is now contrasting the material world with the spiritual world. He's saying that if you go to the material world, there is repeated birth and death, and it's only a place of misery. But if you come to my abode, Krishna is saying, from there you don't have to take birth again. So now Krishna talks about remembrance by contrasting the material world and the spiritual world. We will read this. I want to read the purport of the 16th shloka in class. 1 second. See, all kinds of yogis, karma, jnana, hatha, etc., eventually have to attain devotional perfection in bhakti yoga or Krishna consciousness before they can go to Krishna's transcendental abode and never return. So, important point. If one is practicing karma yoga or jnana yoga or dhyana yoga or hatha yoga or any other yoga system, eventually they have to come to the point of bhakti yoga. One has to come to the point of Krishna consciousness before one can go back to Krishna's abode and never return. One cannot, that's not possible just by practicing these other yoga practices without bhakti. Eventually, everybody has to come to Krishna consciousness before they can go back to Krishna's abode. Then, those who attain the highest material planets, the planets of the demigods, are against subjected to repeated birth and death. So even if you go to the planets of the Devatas or Swargaloka, again there is birth and death. As persons on earth are elevated to higher planets, people on higher planets such as Brahmaloka, Chandraloka and Indraloka fall down to earth. The practice of sacrifice called Panchagni Vidya, recommended in the Chandogya Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmaloka. But if on Brahmaloka, one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. So even if you have attained the highest planet in this material world, which is Brahmaloka, even there, if one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he has to come back to earth. Those who progress in Krishna consciousness on the higher planets are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets, and at the time of universal devastation are transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. So if one is on Brahmaloka or on any higher planetary system, if one over there practices bhakti, one practices Krishna consciousness, then he can get elevated to higher and higher planetary systems. So you can get an upgrade and go higher and higher. And then eventually one is transferred to the spiritual world. Baladev Vidyabhushana in his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita quotes this verse. What's the verse? When there is devastation of this material world, Brahma and his devotees, who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness, are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to specific spiritual planets according to their desires. So if one is on Brahmaloka, and if Lord Brahma and the residents of Brahmaloka are engaged in Krishna consciousness when they are in Brahmaloka, then they can be transferred to the spiritual universe. If not, then again you have to come back to the lower planetary systems. So these are the 14 planetary systems. We can see Lord Brahma is here, and the lowest is Patala Loka, and we are here in the middle. So now we will see comparison between the material and the spiritual world. Krishna goes into greater detail.
अव्यक्ताद्व्यक्तयः सर्वाः प्रभवन्त्यः रागमे.
Are we on the wrong verse?
You're on the wrong verse.
Yeah, I
Since
also
last
noticed
3.
that. Even from the last verse.
तेय पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते.
Okay, now 17.
सहस्रयुगपर्यन्तम् अहर्यद्ब्रह्मणो विदुः रात्रिं युगसहस्रान्ताम् तेहोरात्रविदो जनाः.
By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together from the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night.
So here Krishna is talking about the duration of Brahma's one day. How many years does Lord Brahma live? According to his calculation, Brahma lives for 100 of his years, okay? But our years are far more greater than Brahma's years. So let us say, Krishna is saying, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day. So what are these 1,000 ages? One age is the 4 yugas, is the total duration of the 4 yugas. We know that there are 4 yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. All these yugas put together is one age. So 1,000 of these ages forms the duration of Brahma's one day, and the same amount forms the duration of Brahma's one night, Krishna is saying. So let us try to understand this. So here you have Satya Yuga, Kali Yuga is 4,32,000 years. Double of that is Dwapara Yuga. 3 times Kali Yuga is the duration of Treta Yuga. And 4 times Kali Yuga is the duration of Satya Yuga. All these 4 put together gives us one Divya Yuga. So this is one age, what Krishna says, one age, right? Divya Yuga is 4 million. So Divya Yuga is 4,320,000 years. Now 1,000 of these Divya Yugas make one day in the life of Lord Brahma. And the same amount of years make one night in the life of Lord Brahma. So 12 hours day, 12 hours of night. At the time of every night of Lord Brahma, there is a partial destruction. And at the end of Brahma's lifetime, there is a complete destruction. So how to calculate Brahma's lifetime in earthly years? 4,320,000 into 1,000. Why 1,000? Why are we multiplying here 1,000?
Because
1000 Divya Yugas.
Because 1,000 Divya Yugas. Now why into 2?
because
Day and night.
half. Yeah.
Day and night.
Yes, day and night. Very nice. Now why into 30?
30 days a month.
30 days a month is the Vedic system. Now, Vedic months are not that some have 31 days, some have 29 days, some have 20. It's not like that. Vedic calendar, all the months have 30 days. The extra days are adjusted by bringing in the Purushottam month. Okay. Now, why into 12? 30 days a month. Why 12?
12 months.
12 months in a year. And why 100?
And he lives for 100 years.
Yeah, because he lives for 100 years. So Brahma's 100 years are equal to our earthly 311 trillion and 40 billion years. This is Brahma's age. When Brahma finishes this period, then somebody else is appointed as Brahma. So Brahma is a post. When one finishes with his duration, then another person who is qualified for the post is appointed as Lord Brahma. And the Brahma who's currently as Brahma, then it depends, as we read before, as Prabhupada explained in the pulpit, if he has practiced Krishna consciousness, if he and his devotees have practiced Krishna consciousness, then they can be transferred to the spiritual sky. They can get an upgrade. If not, then they have to come back again. So right now, we are in the Kali Yuga of the 28th Divya Yuga. So there are so many Divya Yugas. No? There are 2,000 Divya Yugas. We are in the Kali Yuga of the 28th Divya Yuga in the first day of Lord Brahma's 51st year. This is what is going on currently. Okay, Brahma is in his 51st year currently. Okay, by these calculations, the life of Brahma seems fantastic and interminable. But from the viewpoint of eternity, it is as brief as a lightning flash. For us, it may seem, 311 trillion years. It's never going to end. But from the point of eternity, it's just a brief lightning flash. In the causal ocean, there are innumerable Brahmas rising and disappearing like bubbles in the Atlantic. So in the causal ocean, which is the ocean that is separating the material and the spiritual worlds, there are several Brahmas who are coming and going, appearing and disappearing, just like how bubbles come and go in an ocean. The duration of the two parts of Brahma's life, as mentioned above, is calculated to be equal to 1 nimesha, less than a second, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is unchanging and unlimited and is the cause of all causes of the universe. So for the Lord, it is less than even 1 second. Now, in the material realm, there are two aspects to creation. We have discussed this, how Brahma is the creator, but he is the secondary creator. He is in charge of Visarga. But there is a primary creation called Sarga. So, Sarga, the primary creation, is the creation of matter and elements. How Mahavishnu is creating universes, and he also creates the planetary systems within the universe. What Lord Brahma does is he creates the different kinds of bodies. There are millions of bodies, different bodies are available to fulfill the different kinds of desires. So there are bodies of insects, trees, plants, fishes, aquatics, human beings, bodies of devatas. So he is creating the different kinds of bodies to accommodate the different desires of the different living entities. Who is this? Who dresses in a blue dhoti?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
He's in a blue dhoti.
Balaram.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dresses in yellow.
Balaram.
Yes, Balaram. So you see, from Krishna comes Lord Balaram. From Balaram comes the first quadruple expansion of Vasudev, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. Then from the first quadruple expansion comes Narayan. From Narayan comes the second quadruple expansion of, again, Vasudev, second Sankarshan or Mahasankarshan, Aniruddha and Pradyumna. Then from the second quadruple expansion comes the three Vishnus, Karanadakashay Vishnu or Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashay Vishnu and Shirodakashay Vishnu. Now, where does Lord Brahma come from?
He comes from the navel of the
Shirodaksh. No.
From the navel of which of the three Vishnus comes Lord Brahma?
Mahavishnu.
No, because Mahavishnu is creating the universes.
Garbhodakshay Vishnu.
Yes, Garbhodakashay Vishnu. Yes. See, Mahavishnu expands from Sankarshana. He enters the Karana ocean and lies there. And he is creating universes from his breathing. Every time he breathes out, from every pore of his skin, a whole universe is created, right? And his body is very, very large. We cannot even imagine. Huge body. So imagine how many universes, how many pores are there on his skin. And so he's creating all these universes. Because he's in the Karana ocean, he's also called as the Karana Dakashai Vishnu. Then from the navel of, so see, you can see here, this is Mahavishnu or Karanodakashai Vishnu, and he's creating all these universes, all these bubbles here, these golden balls that you can see, these are all depicting the universes. So one of those universes is here, and within each universe, then we have Garbhodakashai Vishnu. So Mahavishnu expands as Garbhodakashai Vishnu, and every universe has its Garbhodakashai Vishnu. And from the navel of Garbhodakashai Vishnu, a lotus here. From the navel of Garbhodakashai Vishnu, a lotus springs up, and from there, Lord Brahma is appearing. So Lord Brahma, just as how every universe has its Garbhodakashai Vishnu, therefore every universe has its Lord Brahma. And how many heads Lord Brahma has, that depends on the size of the universe. The bigger the universe, the greater the number of heads Lord Brahma has. Our Lord Brahma has how many heads?
4.
4. So our universe is big or small?
Small.
Yeah, very small, because if you see, there are description is given that how there are universes with Brahmas who have 1,000 heads, 10,000 heads, million heads, 10 million heads. Like that also there are Lord Brahmas. Okay. So coming back here, you can see this here depicts the spiritual sky. And one corner of the spiritual sky is the material world. So you can see this is the material. It's like a dark cloud. In one corner of the spiritual sky is the material world, and that material world has so many millions and millions of universes. Right? In one of those millions and millions of universes is our universe. In that there are 14 planet systems. In that we are in the middle planet systems. In one small corner of the middle. So we can imagine how insignificant we are. Compared to the Lord. And we buy a 2-bedroom hall kitchen apartment and we feel very proud. But we can see how insignificant we are. Our worth is only when we are connected to the Lord. Just like how there may be a big machine with several parts and several screws and nuts and bolts. But once that screw falls off the machine, then that screw loses its value, because it is now separated from the machine. But when the screw is part of that big machine, now that screw has some utility, it has some value. So when we are connected to the Lord, there is some value. If we are disconnected from the Lord, then we are of no use. Okay, so now what happens here? Mahavishnu is glancing at material, at Mahatattva, or the material energy. Now his glance takes the form of Shambhu. You can see here, Lord Shiva. This glance takes the form of Shambhu, Lord Shiva. And then Shambhu is uniting with Durga Devi. And therefore, then all the living entities are transformed to the womb of Durga Devi. And we are then born from her womb. That's the reason why Lord Shiva and Durga Devi, they are called as the father and mother of the universe. This is the reason why. And this is the difference between Lord Shiva and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The point is, Mahavishnu never, see, all these, let's go back one slide before. Oh, See, all these personalities here, right from Krishna to these three Vishnus, they are all the same person, same Lord Krishna, same personality, only different features. Only different features. But here, Lord Shiva, he is not in Vishnu Tattva. These are all Vishnu Tattvas, right? Previously, what we saw. Lord Shiva is not in Vishnu Tattva. He is in his own Tattva because he is coming in touch with material nature. Because he is coming in touch with material nature, he is not completely the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is almost God, but he agrees to come in touch with material nature for the sake of creation. Therefore, he is compared to yogurt, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead or any Vishnu Tattva is compared to milk. From milk, you can make yogurt, but from yogurt, you cannot make milk. So the Brahma Samhita describes how Krishna and all Vishnu Tattvas are like milk, and Lord Shiva is like yogurt. So Lord Shiva, he agrees to come in touch with material nature. And because he is touching material nature, therefore he is not completely the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, Lavina, you have a question?
Yeah, Shiva means material nature is Durga. If he is connected to Durga, that's why he is not fully Krishna con.
No, he is fully Krishna consciousness. He is not fully God. He is not fully
Yeah,
the
means
Supreme Personality.
I mean to
Yeah.
say that one means if he is connected with Durga, so that's why he is not fully God. You mean to say?
Yes, because Durga represents material world. And
Okay.
Krishna and Vishnu Tattvas they do not have any tinge of anything connected to material world.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So you can see this glance of Mahavishnu is taking the form of Shambhu, and the Jivas, along with their karmic reactions, are now transferred to the material world. Because everyone carries off from where we left off in the previous life. We all have our karmic balance. So the Jivas, along with their karmic balance, are transferred. See, by the Lord's glance, he impregnates. 1 second. By the Lord's glance, he impregnates the material nature with the living entities. The personality Shambhu, Lord Shiva, assists the Lord by transferring the jivas into the material energy. The Lord does not touch material nature. He does so via Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva's abode is on the edge of the Viraja river. So Lord Shiva's abode is in between the material and the spiritual worlds. So Lord Shiva is not Jiva Tattva. Jiva Tattva means us. We are all Jiva Tattvas, right? We are all Jivas. We are living entities. Lord Brahma is the first created living entity. So the living entities, it begins from Lord Brahma. Okay, so Lord Brahma is Jiva Tattva. Krishna and his plenary expansions, they are all Vishnu Tattvas, and Lord Shiva is in his own Tattva. He's in the Shiva Tattva, and he's in between the material and the spiritual worlds. Lord Brahma is completely in the material world. No, within that universe, we saw the 14 planetary systems. So Lord Brahma is completely in the material world. So here you can see Mahavishnu is expanding, is creating universes. They're all oval shaped, egg shaped universes. That's why they're called Brahmand. Anda means egg. So they're all egg shaped, Brahmands. These universes are created by his breathing. And then within each universe, within each Brahmand, you have here Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. From the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, there is this lotus that comes. And here you can see Lord Brahma. And then now, of course, every universe has its Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, but within the universe, there are so many living entities. So again, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu expands as Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, or the Paramatma, and he enters into the heart of every living entity, be it an animal or an insect or human being or a Devata. Kshirodakashayi Vishnu as a Paramatma is present even in the heart of Lord Brahma, even in the heart of the tiny ant. So, question, is it disrespectful to call Lord Brahma a Devata or a demigod? Are we being disrespectful? Are we trying to belittle his position? The answer is no, because even Brahma would be unhappy if he is called as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's like you have a country has a president, a prime minister, a chief minister. So if you tell that the chief, would you introduce the chief minister to the audience saying that he's a president of the country?
No.
You wouldn't do that. And it's not disrespectful. It's just that you are stating a fact, isn't it? It would be, in fact, even embarrassing for the chief minister if he's introduced as a president. He's like, Hello, excuse me. I'm not, get your facts right. So it's not that we are being disrespectful. We are only stating the facts. And we should always remember that we have to be respectful to all the devatas. A Vaishnava is not disrespectful even to a tiny ant. So, of course, the devatas, they're all exalted positions. It's not a joke to become a devata. It's not a joke to become Lord Brahma. It's not a joke to become a demigod. Okay, one has to be very highly qualified in order to be able to become a devata or to be able to become Lord Brahma. See, if you read this chapter, which I would recommend that you should read, if you go to your Veda base, you go to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter number 21, and you read verses 59 to 89, you will see the description of how once Lord Brahma went to visit Lord Krishna in Dwarka. And the doorkeepers ask Brahma, "Who are you?" Because he wants to enter. Brahma wants to enter. So he asks him, "Who are you?" He says, "What do you mean, who are you? I am Brahma." So he's like, "Which Brahma?" So he's like, "What do you mean? I'm the Brahma." Okay. And then Krishna comes out and he manifests. He calls all the Brahmas of all the different universes to come there at that time. And that time, our Brahma, the four-headed Brahma, now sees that there are Brahmas with other so many millions of heads. And then our Brahma feels. He remembers that what is his position, and then he offers obeisances. And then you can see how, and it's described how all these Brahmas with these millions of heads, they were all offering obeisances to Krishna. Very nice, interesting set of verses, which I would recommend that you must read on your Vedabase. Go to vedabase.io, click on Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter number 21, and verses 59 to 89. Let's go to 18.
अव्यक्ताद्व्यक्तयः सर्वाः प्रभवन्त्यः रागमे रात्र्यागमे प्रलीयन्ते तत्रैवाव्यक्तसंज्ञके.
At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they emerge into the unmanifest again.
So at the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state. So they are coming into existence. And thereafter, at his night, they are merged into the unmanifest again, which means again there is a partial destruction. At the time of Brahma's day, there is creation, and at the fall of his night, there is a partial destruction. See, when a partial destruction takes place, it's described here. See, let's read. The devastation takes place due to the fire emanating from the mouth of Sankarshan. So where is Sankarshan? Sankarshan. He is at the rock bottom, and all these different universes are on his hoods, and they weigh as much as a mustard seed would weigh on our heads. Okay, for him, the weight of this whole universe is like the small mustard seed. So he is starting to emit fire. So the devastation takes place due to the fire emanating from the mouth of Sankarshan, and thus great sages like Brigu and other inhabitants of Maharloka transport themselves to Janaloka. So here from Maharloka, they transport themselves to Janaloka, being distressed by the warmth of the blazing fire which rages through the three worlds below. So all these planetary systems at the end of Brahma's day are destroyed, starting from Patala Loka right up to Swarga Loka. All are destroyed. Maharloka is not destroyed, but it is too hot to exist over there. And because it is so very hot, therefore the residents of Maharloka, they go to Janaloka. But the time of Brahma's night, all these planetary systems from Swarga Loka to Patala Loka, all are destroyed. When Brahma's lifetime comes to an end, when he finishes his 100 years, then all the 14 planetary systems, including Satyaloka, including Lord Brahma's abode, even that is destroyed. It is said, okay, where did we read? At the beginning of the devastation, all the seas overflow and hurricane winds blow very violently. Thus, the waves of the seas become ferocious, and in no time at all, the three worlds are full of water. It is said that the blazing fire from the mouth of Sankarsana rages for 100 years of the demigods, or 36,000 human years. Then for another 36,000 years, there are torrents of rain, accompanied by violent winds and waves, and the seas and oceans flow. These reactions of 72,000 years are the beginning of the partial devastation of the three worlds. So this is how destruction takes place. So this is 18. Let's read 19.
भूतग्रामः स एवायम् भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते रात्र्यागमे वशः पार्थ प्रभवत्यः रागमे.
Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated.
Okay, so let's read the purport. This is 18 and 19. See the purport here. The less intelligent who try to remain within this material world may be elevated to higher planets and then again must come down to this planet Earth. So it is less intelligent. If you elevate the higher planets, if you want to go to Swarga, but then again you have to come back down again to this Earth. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada explains that these are less intelligent people. During the daytime of Brahma, they can exhibit their activities on higher and lower planets within this material world. But at the coming of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. Annihilated means destroyed. In the day, they receive various bodies for material activities, and at night, they no longer have bodies, but remain compact in the body of Vishnu. So what happens when Mahavishnu is breathing in all the universes, along with all the living entities and their karmic balance, they are all residing within the body of Mahavishnu. And when he breathes out, again, all these universes are created. Again, all the jivas are transferred to the different planetary systems, and they are taking different bodies according to their karmic balance and according to what they desire and what they deserve. Then again, they are manifest at the arrival of Brahma's day. Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. During the day, they become manifest, and at night, they are annihilated again. Ultimately, when Brahma's life is finished, they are all annihilated and remain unmanifest for millions and millions of years. So when Brahma finishes his 100 years, then the jivas who are not yet qualified to go to the spiritual world, then they remain in the body of Vishnu for millions and millions of years. And when Brahma is born again in another millennium, they are again manifest. So when somebody else is appointed as Lord Brahma, then again they are all manifest. In this way, they are captivated by the spell of the material world. But those intelligent persons who take to Krishna consciousness use the human life fully in the devotional service of the Lord. So intelligence means you use the human life in engaging in bhakti. So they use the human life fully in the devotional service of the Lord, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thus, they transfer themselves even in this life to the spiritual planet of Krishna and become eternally blissful there, not being subject to such rebirths. So what do you mean they transfer themselves even in this life? Because if one is in Krishna consciousness, if one is chanting the holy name, even when you are in the material world, you are transcendently placed. Your mind is blissful, no? Your chit, your mentality, everything is blissful. So even though you are geographically, one may be located in the material world, actually you are transferred on the transcendental plane because one is in Krishna consciousness. Okay. So these are very interesting purports. So this we have already discussed. You can go through it when we share it in the group. See here, His Holiness Romapad Swami answers, Lord Brahma generally attains liberation. So what happens to Lord Brahma? Generally he attains liberation, but this is not always necessarily the case. Srila Prabhupada explains that Brahma and the inhabitants of his planet are also subject to the laws of material nature and are not free from birth and death. But because Lord Brahma is directly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord in the management of the universe, he is able to attain liberation. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Lord Brahma states that being always conscious of the imminent destruction of his planet, he is concerned about his liberation and thus engages himself and other inhabitants of his planet in worshipping the Supreme Lord. So usually he attains liberation, but it is not always necessarily the case. This we have already read, this we have already seen, this we have already seen. So this is a summary of 17 to 19. Let's see 20.
परस्तस्मात्तु भावोऽन्यो व्यक्तो व्यक्तात् सनातनः यः स सर्वेषु भूतेषु नश्यत्सु न विनश्यति.
Yet there is another unmanifest nature, which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifest and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is.
So now in verses 20 and 21, Krishna is going to talk about the spiritual world. So far he spoke of the nature of the material world, how everything is destroyed, how Lord Brahma's planet also is destroyed, right? So long, all these verses that we were discussing, he was talking about the material world. Now he is comparing it to the spiritual world. So he's saying, yet there is another unmanifest nature, which is eternal. So the spiritual world is eternal. It doesn't come to an end like the other planetary systems of the universe in the material world, and that is transcendental to this manifest and unmanifest matter. So matter manifests and unmanifest, it comes into existence and it is destroyed, but that spiritual world is beyond this material world. So that spiritual world is supreme and it is never destroyed. When all in this world is destroyed, that part remains as it is. So the spiritual world never goes through any kind of destruction. So therefore it is eternal. And therefore it is supreme. 21.
अव्यक्तोऽक्षर इत्युक्तः तमाहुः परमां गतिं यं प्राप्य न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम.
That which is the Adventist describes as unmanifest and infallible, and that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns, that is my supreme abode.
So here Krishna continues his description of the spiritual world. What is he saying? The spiritual world is unmanifest and infallible. It is avyakta. It is avyakta and it is akshara. Akshara means it is infallible. So that which can never disappear, that which will never be unmanifested, right? So he's saying that this spiritual world is avyakta and akshara. And he's saying that it is paramam, it is the ultimate destination. So Krishna is saying spiritual world is avyakta, akshara, it is paramam. And therefore that after achieving that destination, Praptya, Krishna says, after you gain that ultimate destination, Paramam Gatin, then what happens? One never returns. So again, Krishna is repeating that if one goes to the spiritual world, one is not going to come back again. And then at the end, Krishna says that dham, that avyakta dham, that akshar dham, that paramam dham, after attaining which one never comes back again, that dham, that dhama is actually my abode, Krishna is saying. Tat dhama paramam mama. Mama, it is mine, Krishna is saying. So that dham, that spiritual world from where one never returns, that dham which is unmanifest, which is infallible, which is supreme, that is my abode, Krishna is saying. So the spiritual world is Krishna's abode, Goloka, Vaikuntha. We'll stop here. We'll continue in the next class if Krishna so sanctions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
ऋषिनम माता जी
जय
की जय, अचल जय पताका महाराज की जय, श्री श्री भागवत गीता की जय। थैंक यू माता जी, कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम। जय शिल प्रभुपाद। Thank you for
Jai, thank
deep,
you,
deep,
Mataji.
deep devotional association, Mataji. No words to your sincere seva, Mataji. Koti koti
Thank
dandavat pranam. Jai Shri
Thank you for
Prabhupada.
your association with Bhagavad Mataji. Okay, do we have any questions?
Yes, yes. Can you explain how Krishna and Vishnu different? The difference between Krishna and Vishnu.
Okay, so as we saw today, the different expansions of Krishna, Balaram, and then we saw the first quadruple expansions, and we saw Narayan and the second quadruple expansions, and those three Vishnus. All these people, all these Vishnus and Krishna, they are not different. They are the same person, different features. Just like how we have God at home. I mean, a person or a person who's at home and he's in office. When one is at home, one is casual, one may be dressed in shorts and t-shirt. But when one is in office, it's a more official environment, right? A more formal environment. So therefore, he is dressed there in trousers, a shirt, and a tie. So that's the difference between Krishna in Goloka and all these other Vishnu manifestations and other Vishnu tattvas. Same person, only different features. In terms of potency and power, they are all the same. They have the same potency and the same power. It's just that different features are there. And if you have to talk about the difference, there is something called as a transcendental quality. Let me share my screen 1 second. There are total of 64 transcendental qualities. See, the jivas, starting from Lord Brahma, have 50 transcendental qualities. Lord Brahma has these 50 transcendental qualities in full extent, to the fullest extent. And other ordinary living entities, they have these 50 transcendental qualities, but in minute quantities. Okay. Then, Vishnu Tattva expansions of Krishna have 60 qualities out of 64. So, which means Krishna has 4 qualities which Lord Vishnu does not have, or Vishnu Tattva does not have. What are the 4 things that Krishna has and Narayan or Vishnu do not have? What are they? Krishna is the performer of wonderful varieties of pastimes. So, Leela Madhuri, it is called Leela Madhuri. Krishna performs such wonderful Leelas that by his Leelas, he is attracting all the living entities. So, that's why you see Krishna's childhood Leelas, and throughout his lifetime, actually, in his childhood or in his adulthood, even his disappearance from the planet, it's full of very captivating Leelas. So, Leela Madhuri, Krishna is the performer of wonderful varieties of pastimes. Then Krishna is surrounded by devotees endowed with wonderful love of Godhead. So you'll always see Krishna surrounded by gopis, by gopas, and his parents, all the Vrajavasis or the cows, the peacock. So like that, Krishna is always surrounded by devotees endowed with wonderful love of God. So that is called as Bhakta Madhuri. Then Krishna can attract all living entities all over the universe by playing his flute. So Venu Madhuri, by his flute, just by playing his flute, all the living entities will drop whatever they are doing and they will rush towards Krishna. That is the potency of Krishna playing the flute. So Lord Vishnu does not play the flute. You not see pictures of Lord Vishnu always surrounded by gopas, gopis, friends, Rajavasis. No, that only Krishna. You will not see Vishnu performing as many wonderful pastimes as Krishna. Okay, so these are the things that Krishna has, but Vishnu does not have. And what's the 4th one? Krishna has a wonderful excellence of beauty, which cannot be rivaled anywhere in creation. So yes, Vishnu also is very, 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 very beautiful. But Krishna, he is most beautiful. So anyway, if you have to talk about a difference, then these are the 4 qualities that Krishna has that even Lord Vishnu does not have. But at the end of it, is the same person, only different features. Just because Lord Vishnu is in the Vaikuntha planets, he is in the 4-handed Vishnu form, there is a more formality in the relationship in the Vaikuntha planets. The residents of Vaikuntha planets, they know, they are aware that Vishnu is a supreme personality of Godhead. So they are more, their relationship with the Lord is reverential, no, more respectful. But in Goloka, the residents of Goloka forget that Krishna is God. So they are able to share a more intimate pastime with the Lord. So coming to these transcendental qualities, Shiva Tattva has 54 qualities. Jiva Tattva has 50 qualities. Lord Vishnu has 60 and Krishna has all 64. If you want more details, you just Google the 64 transcendental qualities of Krishna and you will get the. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so then 5,000 years back, Krishna himself came to earth, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mataji. Koti koti dandavat pranam. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai. Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, Lavina, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, actually, you mean to say that Brahma is having 50
Qualities
qualities
in full.
in full, okay.
Yes.
And we living entities, we have 50, but in a
Partial.
very minute quality.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And Vishnu has 60 qualities,
Yes.
and Krishna has 64 qualities, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. I will share in the
Shiva
group.
has-
If you want the detail of each of these qualities also, it's there. I can share it in the group. Now we cannot
Yeah,
because of time constraint, but in the group I will share each of those qualities are there. You have a whole bullet list and you can go
Okay.
through. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anything else? So the exam will be shared in the group by Tuesday. Okay. And then in the next class, if Krishna so sanctions, we'll finish up this chapter. And then we are ready to start with chapter number 9. Chapter 9 is titled Most Confidential Knowledge. Okay, but we have to wait for 15 more days to start with chapter number 9. All right, then, till then, have a nice week in Krishna consciousness. If you have any doubts or questions, you can always send me a WhatsApp. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagawad Gita ki jai. Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Ajay Srinath Mataji ki jai. Ajay Chaitanya Maharaj ki jai. Thank you, Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna Mata.
Krishna. Hare Krishna Sahib.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.